We did not say goodbye, because we believed silence would be gentler than truth. We stood at the edge of a moment, pretending it was only a pause, not the cliff it truly was. Words gathered in my throat, like birds afraid of flight, each one knowing that once released, nothing would ever return to the way it was. You smiled, the kind of smile meant to reassure, meant to lie. I memorized it anyway. There are farewells that announce themselves, suitcases, doors closing, arms tightening one last time. Ours hid. It slipped between normal conversations, laughed quietly at the dinner table, sat beside us while we spoke of tomorrow, as if tomorrow had agreed to stay. The pain did not arrive immediately. It waited. It always waits. It waited until I reached for you, without thinking, until I turned to speak, and found only air, where your presence used to rest. That is how unspoken goodbyes wound, not with violence, but with absence. Your voice became a memory that visited without permission, arriving at night, leaving before morning, never explaining why. Still knew my name. I replayed every moment, searching for the sentence that should have saved us. If I had said stay, would you have? If you had said I'm leaving, would I have begged? These questions rot quietly, never screaming, just breathing heavily. Inside the chest, grief does not always cry. Sometimes it stares at walls. Sometimes it folds laundry. Sometimes it smiles at strangers who resemble the ghosts we miss. I learned your absence, the way one learns a limp, slowly, painfully, pretending it doesn't hurt, until it defines the way you walk. Through every day, places remember you, the room still holds, the shape of your laughter, the air still expects your sigh. Even time hesitates when it passes those memories, as if unsure whether to disturb them. I speak to you in my head, conversations braver than reality ever allowed. In them I say everything. In them you listen. But imagination is cruel. It gives closure without relief. You were not a loss. The world could see. No condolences arrived. No rituals marked the ending. Yet something sacred ended. An entire future quietly erased itself without asking permission. That is the cruelty of unspoken goodbyes. They deny us the dignity of mourning openly. We grieve alone, questioning whether our pain is even valid. But pain does not require witnesses. It only requires memory. And memory never forgets what the heart refused to say. Carry you now, not as you were, but as you never got to be. You live in the space, between sentences, between breaths, between what almost happened and what never will. Some days I am angry, some days I am numb, some days I forgive us both for being afraid of the truth, because love, when it fears endings, chooses silence, and silence feels safer, until it becomes unbearable. If I could return, I would not beg you to stay. I would only say goodbye properly. I would let the words fall, even if they shattered us, because at least the breaking would have been honest. But time does not negotiate. It only collects. So I live with echoes now, with unfinished sentences, with a goodbye that still waits to be spoken. And perhaps that is the final pain. Not that you left, but that you never heard. How deeply you mattered. I trace your absence in the small details, the chair you always pulled closer to the window, the mug you never washed, the echo of footsteps that the floor remembers long after the body has gone. I try to speak to you in the quiet hours, but the air resists, and only my own voice answers back, hollow and unfamiliar. I wonder what part of you lingers in me. Is it the memory of your hand in mine, or the ache left behind, where your laughter should have lived? Even the seasons mourn differently. Now, winter feels too sharp, cutting with reminders that warmth is fleeting. Spring betrays me with blossoms I no longer want to see, because they do not carry you. Summer blinds me with too much light. forcing me to remember that our shadows no longer meet. Autumn leaves fall, and I am left, sifting through gold and decay, searching for a sign that you are still part of this world. Sometimes I pretend you are merely delayed, as if a train has been held back, and you will arrive with a single smile to erase the months of silence. But I know the truth. You are gone, and yet I cannot let go. Memory binds you to me with invisible thread, each thought tugging harder than the last. I cradle that thread as if it were a lifeline, though it often strangles the hope of moving on. There are nights when grief turns liquid, pouring from eyes that refuse sleep. I speak to the dark because it listens without interruption, without judgment, and sometimes I imagine you there, hearing every confession, smiling softly, as if forgiveness is enough to undo the years that silence has stolen. Love unspoken is a strange kind of eternity. It does not fade. It lingers, slipping between moments, hiding in corners of otherwise ordinary days. You are in the quiet moments, the pauses between music, the sighs after laughter. You are in every letter I never sent, in every word I never said. I wonder if you feel me too, if some ghost of our past rides the wind and brushes against your cheek, reminding you that even silence can scream. The hardest part is not remembering you, but forgetting how it felt to be near you, to hear your name spoken aloud, without fear of goodbye, to touch your hand, without imagining the last time. I have walked through cities where every street seemed empty, and I could hear your absence echoing off the walls. Every crowd was a reminder that we once moved through the world together, and now I am alone. The heart adapts, or so they say, but how does one adapt to the weight of words that were never said? How does one live with an ending that arrived quietly, without ceremony, without the dignity of closure? I have written your name on foggy windows, in journals, on the edges of dreams, as if repeating it might summon your presence, or finally release me from the ache of its absence. Sometimes I dream of conversations we could have had, the apologies, the confessions, the truths too heavy to speak. While you were near, in dreams we forgive each other, but morning comes, and the silence returns, heavier than before. Even now I carry regrets, like stones in my pocket, turning them over to feel their weight, wondering which could have changed the course, which word might have kept you. And still I whisper into the empty rooms, goodbye, not loud enough for the world, only for me, only for the part of me that still hopes you might hear it somewhere, somehow. I remember the day you almost spoke. Your lips trembled over the edge of a word, as if it could leap from your mouth and shatter everything, but you swallowed it back, and I, foolish, did not ask. And so the moment passed, like rain that falls but never touches the earth. I carry your almosts with me, almost words, almost touches, almost glances. They are heavier than the things you actually said, because they are infinite, stretching beyond time, beyond reason, beyond forgiveness. There are mornings when I wake with the phantom weight of your hand in mine. I reach for it, and the emptiness replies, silent, cold, and unwavering.
I've grown accustomed
to your absence, not the acceptance of it. I have not reached that peace, but the constant companion of it. It walks with me everywhere, sits beside me at the table, leans into my shoulder, as if it were real. People say grief softens over time. Perhaps they have never loved someone so fully that the mere thought of goodbye becomes a life sentence. I watch strangers and imagine your reflection in their eyes. I listen to laughter and hear the echoes of what could have been. Even joy is laced with the sharp taste of loss. I replay our last day together. The ordinary moments now feel sacred. The way you brushed your hair, the careless tilt of your head, the warmth of your voice. when you spoke to someone else. I remember the quiet spaces between us, where words should have lived, but never dared. Sometimes I speak your name, as if saying it aloud, might bend reality, might pull you back, from wherever you are, from whatever silence claimed you. But the air holds only my voice, and I am left with the echo of hope that dies before morning. I imagine your life, without me in it. Do you remember our laughter, or has it faded into something more practical, more silent, more permanent? I have loved in your absence, not fully, never fully, but enough to know that shadows of you haunt my happiness. I keep the smallest tokens of you, hidden in drawers, folded in envelopes, traced in notebooks, so that the world sees nothing, and I alone feel the weight. The nights are hardest. In darkness, the unspoken words swell like tides, filling every corner of my chest with their relentless insistence. You are not here, and yet I cannot stop searching for traces of you in the quiet, in the spaces where light refuses to go. I sometimes curse the things we never said, the apologies, the confessions, the I love yous that choked on the lips, left unsent. They grow like weeds in the garden of my memory, prickly and unstoppable, and I tend them because I cannot uproot what I will never speak aloud. I wonder if you ever felt it, this quiet fracture between our worlds, if you ever imagined the weight of your absence pressing on my chest with every breath I take. And yet I forgive you, not because forgiveness heals, but because holding on to anger only sharpens the ache. Forgiveness is a small mercy I grant myself for loving you too much to let hate linger. We are ghosts to each other now, two living shadows, trapped in separate rooms, haunted by the same silence. And still, I whisper into the empty space, goodbye, a word too late, but one I will speak, until memory dissolves, until the silence finally listens. I remember the sound of your breathing, when the world finally grew quiet, how it grounded me, how I mistook its rhythm for permanence. I did not know then that even the most familiar sounds can become relics, stored away in the fragile vault of remembrance. There are moments when I almost forget you. They scare me more than the nights I cry, because forgetting feels like betrayal and remembering feels like punishment. So I stay suspended between the two, carrying you carefully as one carries glass, afraid to drop it, afraid to hold it too tightly. I replay the ordinary days now, the ones we never thought to save. Those are the ones that hurt the most. Not the dramatic moments, not the near confessions, but the quiet coexistence, shared silences, shared air, shared time. Time is cruel in its honesty. It moves forward, without apology, dragging memories behind it, until they fray at the edges. Sometimes I argue with time. I ask it why it couldn't pause, just long enough for us to speak. It never answers. I've learned that silence is not empty. It is full of everything we were afraid to say. Your absence taught me how loud a heart can be when it is breaking quietly. I still imagine alternate endings, versions of us, where courage arrived on time, where truth was not delayed, until it became regret. In those versions, we sit across from each other, eyes steady, voices honest. In those versions, we say goodbye with intention, and though it hurts, it heals. But reality chose another path, one where love lingered, without direction, where feelings aged, without release, where goodbyes remained unborn. I see you in reflections sometimes, not clearly, just enough to startle my heart. A familiar pasture, a familiar laugh in a stranger's mouth. Hope flares briefly, then dies just as fast. I have learned how quickly hope can turn into grief. I've learned that love does not disappear. When people do, it simply changes form, becoming memory, becoming ache, becoming a quiet companion that walks beside you forever. Some nights, I sit with the version of myself you last knew. I wonder if you would recognize me now, with all this heaviness, with all this growth carved by loss. You left without knowing the person I would become in your absence, and I stayed without knowing the person you would be without me. That not knowing is another kind of grief. I stopped waiting for closure. Closure is a luxury. Unspoken goodbyes do not provide. Instead, I collect moments of peace, small, fragile, temporary, a breath that doesn't hurt, a laugh that feels genuine, a memory that doesn't bleed. Healing, I've learned, does not mean forgetting. It means learning how to carry what cannot be changed without letting it crush you. And still, there are days when your absence feels heavier than my body, when moving forward feels like walking against the tide. On those days, I forgive myself for missing you, for loving you, for never finding the courage to say goodbye. Because sometimes silence is not weakness. Sometimes it is the language of fear, spoken fluently by hearts that feel too deeply. And if you ever wonder whether you mattered, know this: some goodbyes hurt, because the love was real, because the connection was deep, because the words were too powerful to be spoken aloud. So I will carry you as gently as I can through days that move on without asking, through nights that still remember, and somewhere between breathing and dreaming, between remembering and letting go, I will finally learn how to live with the pain of unspoken goodbyes.